Hello, everyone, and welcome to another QuickBooks presentation. I'm Jamie Lemura, the Partner Manager for South Australia, New South Wales, and Asia Pacific. And I'm very, very honoured and esteemed to have one of our trainer writers, Denise Tugger, on this webinar with me. Hello, Denise, how are you?
Yeah, hi Jamie. I'm really well, thank you. And yeah, thank you so much for inviting me to be part of this very powerful topic, as we shall call it at the moment.
Yeah, yeah, very, very powerful, and no more powerful than an absolute guru in regards to payroll and superannuation. Hence why we've brought you on today. So, um, Payday Super is the topic of discussion today, and it is critical that as many businesses comply with superannuation and Payday Super as of July 1st year. And managing payroll is without doubt one of the biggest responsibilities that come with being an employer. And from the 1st of July 2026, that responsibility is going to become even more time sensitive with the introduction of Payday Super. So, a little bit of context before I get Denise here seriously involved is this stems all the way back into July 2023, where the ATO and the federal government decided to change how superannuation is paid. And so they've given everyone a 3-year runway to get this together. And so, under the new Payday Super rules, effective as of July 1st, you'll need to pay your super at the same time as the wages, unlike previously where you would batch pay or hold on to the superannuation funds for up to a month before clearing it. So employee superannuation contributions must reach their superannuation account within 7 business days. Now, in the current accounting software landscape, many of the software that people currently use do not meet that requirement. They do not meet that requirement. So, and that's a big shift from 28 business days to 7. And so, Denise, I'm going to hand it over to you in regards to the legislation piece behind it. If you can give us some more understanding and knowledge on that, please.
Yeah, great, Jamie. So it's great introduction. So pretty much you've nailed it. The way that it's working is that the superannuation must be in the employee super fund within 7 days of payday.
Yep.
So we know that with history, some of the software, it can take 12, 14 days for it to actually be cleared by the clearing house. So it's not going to cut it. So we know that there was some software who was trying to push back Payday Super because they were just worried that they weren't going to be like software ready to make sure the legislation, because at the end of the day, it falls back onto the software to make sure that it's capable of managing and complying to the new legislation that the ATO is rolling down to say you must have this superannuation in their fund within 7 days.
Mm.
So there are a couple of different scenarios where there are a little bit of leniency with that 7 day ruling. Obviously, if you've got a brand new staff member, they are pushing that out to 20 days. So you do have time, but don't be complacent. This is the last thing that any business can afford with this whole Payday Super is complacency. That's the last thing they can really afford. The ATO are not showing any forgiveness with this Payday Super at all. So
No,
please don't
no,
be
you're right.
complacent.
Yeah, 100%. Like, we're talking fines in the tens of thousands of dollars, and they're hot on it right from day one. Their view is that you've had 3 years to get your act together in all of this and be prepared, and now it's showtime. So it's funny as you say this. I speak to a lot of advisors every day, and many at the moment are complacent and probably have their head in the sand a little bit, thinking that their software that they're currently using outside of Employment Hero and QuickBooks, of course, is actually compliant. And believe it or not, they're not. And so those those companies that you speak of are in a mad rush right now to actually helicopter third-party solutions to try and meet that requirement. And it's going to cause a lot of issues, concerns, and also inefficiencies, which we will explore very shortly. So there's one thing that we've that a lot of oh, before I forget, Did you know, Denise, that the superannuation clearing house that's complementary with the government is actually being made redundant June 30?
Yes, Jamie, there's been a lot of talk in the industry about the ATO Clearing House being shut down.
Mm,
Um, to be honest, I can understand why a lot of businesses use it, but for a BAS agent, it's actually a very clunky, time-consuming system to use. I understand why BAS agents have used it, but for me, I've always just preferred to run with a software such as QuickBooks Employment Hero, with Beam Super, just to know that the superannuation. I've got time for that, and to sit there and you could get a figure wrong. Can you imagine mistyping someone's superannuation putting a wrong figure in there because a lot of it's manual.
yeah,
So yeah, no, the ATO have had enough. They're done with their clearinghouse. So they were really wanting it to shut down sooner, but it's coming. It's being shut. So I know that they are preferring to see people out of using their software because it was never really meant to be, used ongoing for as a main purpose as a clearinghouse for superannuation. So yeah, good
yeah.
on them for sort of putting a bit of this back onto the professional software programs such as Employment Hero that know what the legislation is. I mean, that's what they're designed to do is keep the payroll compliant and make sure that when we're lodging, it's as easy and as clean as possible for us to do so.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Can you talk to me about the impact of business cash flow then, now that this is going to come into effect in a matter of months?
Oh, it's going to be massive. I think the other thing to mention, you did talk about the penalties that the ATO have got sitting on top of super. They've
Yep.
been around a long time. They can be up to 200% of the current liability. So I've heard of situations of a $5,000 superannuation liability get blown out to over 60 grand.
Mm,
The really sucky thing about this though, Jamie, it's not claimable by the business owner. So
yeah. Right.
what was an expense to the business when the superannuation was, let's call it legal, sitting in within that 28 days of receiving in the fund of the employee, that used to be a business expense. Now, if you go through a superannuation audit and they are brutal with them, and they
Mm,
don't like doing them, but they've had enough. The ATO have simply had enough of businesses not paying super.
yeah.
So yeah, that's just something to really know. And that's what I say to business owners. It's hard enough finding that super now, but there is no forgiveness from the ATO when it comes to it.
Yeah.
So with the cash flow, I mean, I guess when businesses come to my business, like to my firm, they want us to do their payroll, they get their superannuation done at the same time. Look, as a BAS agent, I've seen this coming for a long time. Like you said, it's been on the shelf for a couple of years now. So
Mm,
we know it's been coming, unless you're an emu,
yeah.
shove your head in the ground, then there's really no excuses to know that this legislation is here. It's
Yeah.
on our door, but it's less than 4 months away. It's really frightening. But the
Yep.
impact of cash flow is massive. So I've seen a lot of my clients, they all predominantly have moved to Payday Super.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's taken them a little while to get used to it, the swing of not having that sort of, have you seen that money come out instantly? But
Yep.
to be honest, within a month or two, they are back to business as usual. They're not even noticing it. And the best thing is I get a bit cheeky every now and again. And when that quarter,
Really?
when that quarter, not me, but when that quarter figure comes up, and I'll just say to them, so at least you don't have to worry about finding that $10,000 for superannuation right now because you've already paid it. So it's like, brilliant. But I am seeing the businesses that have adopted to paying their super now, payday to payday, are definitely fine. They're great. It's taken them a little while. This is why I get really scared to think that businesses are going to wait to the 1st of July. That God, it frightens me, Jamie. I'm scared they're going to go under. They're not going to realise the impact this is going to have on their payroll and their cash flow.
Well, not only that, think of it from this perspective, and this is my thought process and the conversations that I have with my advisors. Imagine if you're using software that's not compliant and not meeting the regulation. Your client's getting hit from the ATO. If I was the client and I found that my advisor was not doing their due diligence of the payroll for my business, I'm not wearing the fine. Over to you. In some cases, yeah,
Unfortunately, Jamie, some of the software,
mm,
they only allow one person to authorise a superannuation. So if that
yeah,
person is the BAS agent, which 9 times out of 10 it probably is one of us doing, because we're doing the payroll as well.
yeah,
If we're being held back by the employer, which is you've got to basically have payroll authorisation no matter what software you're on to be able to do super. But I've had clients that are using QuickBooks and more importantly, with the Beam. Like I was in Bali not that long ago, and it's like, hey guys, just push the super for me while you're doing payroll. I send them a really quick loom, which we're going to go through and show people how
Yeah.
easy it is to set up their superannuation using Beam.
Mm.
They couldn't believe how easy it was. They thought it was this secret little mission that BAS agents held to ourselves so we could charge you so
Yeah.
much money to lodge your super. Seriously, it's 3 clicks. Just do the super, click it, send it, happy days. It comes out of your bank account. So
Yeah.
I don't want to see BAS agents, I can see BAS agents being blamed for superannuation being delayed because a code hasn't been approved, which is generally the main one. So I send many clients their codes to go, hey, it's on their phone.
Mm.
And I've seen some clients not approve it for 2 or 3 weeks. That's not going to cut it in Payday Super.
No, absolutely not. Can you tell me more about how you've adopted this in-house when onboarding your clients with their payroll and their super responsibilities?
They don't get a choice.
Yeah.
I'm really strict with it because I know this legislation's been coming for a while. They just don't get a choice. When people onboard me as their BAS agent, I want to see these people stay in business. I don't
Yep.
want to see them sink and swim. I want to see them swim. I want to see them thrive and massively go through business. So superannuation, it's a no deal. It's basically, I do your BAS, I do your payroll, I do your super, and it gets done every payday. They don't
Yep.
get a choice. Some of them have been a bit begrudgingly coming along, and I am working with a couple of rather larger clients. I've
Mm.
got them from quarterly to monthly. So we're lodging monthly at the moment. They know that come the end of March, I'm going to be pushing them to fortnightly, which is where their payroll sits. So, they're payroll behind themselves at the moment, which is good,
Yep.
better
Yep.
than being 3 or 4 payrolls behind themselves with a quarterly fund. So those that have come on board have, I've got them within a month or within 1 payroll behind in super. So we're getting there, and
Yep.
well, by the end of
Right.
March, as I said, I'll have them all. They won't even get blink when it comes to the 1st of July.
Needs to be more advisors that are on the ball like you, Denise.
There's a few of us out there.
On the conversation about zero tolerance, then, what are you aware, or do you know of what the penalties the business or a business will face for non-compliance?
Yeah, so the highest penalty is 200% of the current liability. But then what they'll also do is put you through an SGC audit, and they are not funds. So the business owner gets charged penalties of interest, late
Yep.
payment, and it's per employee. And it also goes back over the quarters, but they can turn around and say, well, we want to have a look at a period of payroll 3 or 4 years ago. So the ATO have got every right to go back up to 7 years with payroll and dig through. So they
Mm-hmm.
can pull a period of time that the business owner might have been pretty lazy about going 3 or 4 years ago, but they might have their ducks in a row now. But the ATO might turn around and go, nah, because they've got all that data. They've got all
Yeah.
that data available to them now. So and I've seen them do it. I've seen them go back 3 years on a payroll for
Mm-hmm.
like digging around for late super.
Yep.
So this is where we're better. This is not a case of asking for forgiveness. We're asking for the clients to do it now because it's brutal. So worst case scenario, 200% penalty
Mm-hmm.
plus it's non-claimable. So
Yep.
that becomes a liability on the business owner. So
Which, yeah.
it could incur DPN notices on directors. It can be really brutal. It could end up bankruptcy. At the end of the day, it can really take a business down.
Mhm. Yeah. And as an advisor, you wouldn't want to have that burden of responsibility or risk, or cop that, because that word spreads. People talk in the industry, so it's critical that as an industry that you've got payroll or a payroll mechanism that is ticking the boxes, and you've got peace of mind, both for the business but also for yourself as well. Um,
100%.
Now, I'm assuming that there's no areas of forgiveness, that the ATO are pretty much zero tolerance. Yeah, right. Okay, interesting, interesting.
Yeah.
Um, Getting back with new employees, or any bounced back super or anything of that. Can you
Yeah. So
that?
I know that Beam have been working really hard at the bounce backs because they were at a webinar. They held a lot of webinars late last year around being Payday Super ready.
Mm.
And they've worked really hard because the ATO have put a lot of liability, as you can imagine, and responsibility on the super funds, such as Beam, like the clearing houses like Beam.
Yeah.
So they're wearing a lot of a lot of responsibility on their shoulders, but they're ready for it. They've been ready for quite some time. Like us, they've known that the legislation is coming, so they have been ready. But one of the questions was, what happens with bounce back super? So there is a little bit of tolerance there. This is where they're calling in the 7-day period. So in the ideal world, it'll go to you pay it on payday. So super goes payday. It hits the fund within 3 days.
Yep.
If there's a bounce back, they've got to send it back within a period of time. So this is where you've got a couple of days for it to bounce back. It comes back to you to go, this super bounce back again. You then got to get it from the employer or the employee to say this super bounce back straight into the holding fund, whoever the employer has got. And this is where the employers are really going to make sure that they've got their funds ready, because there's not going to be any time for or BAS agents and payroll specialists to wait for an employee to find what their fund is. We can go and do a search on the ATO portal.
Yep.
But it really is coming back down to like the employee. I know that the onboarding, a lot of the payroll systems are going to self-employee onboarding, really putting the onus on the employee to make sure that the information they're putting in there is correct.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, so, but new employees, they've got 20 days, obviously, to allow for that to come through. But, if anyone thinks that they can't get, that they'll be able to get around it, STP is going to sting them every single time.
And there are firms or people that are using certain software that are quite blasé about it, and I'm actually concerned for them because I speak to them on the daily, and I know that with what we've got with Employment Hero, box ticked, you're all good.
Absolutely, and it has been quite some time too. So yeah, it's good.
Yeah. Tell me, speaking of other software, without mentioning any names, of course, I've heard around the traps that there's particular software that are needing things like codes and bits and pieces. Can you expand upon that, considering you have a much broader knowledge than I?
Yeah, so sort of what I was mentioning a bit before with that whole timeline on the liability falling back on the BAS agent is with some of the software, only one person can authorise the superannuation.
Yep.
And they lock it down by a phone number, so a mobile number. So only one, obviously you can only have one mobile number to receive that code. So generally, the BAS agent, we try and take control because it's easier if we've just got control knowing that the payroll's being filed, the super's being lodged, everything's happening the way it should be happening, which is what they engage us to do. But sometimes you might get a roadblock. So I've got one client who's not using Employment Hero, and I send her, so I do the payroll. She's in full control of everything that comes out of the bank account, runs a really strict cash flow. So I don't even get to send the superannuation out, even though she knows how much it is every payroll. But their cash flow, and these guys are perfect for me to get onto Payday Super, because they're like down to the dollar. So she will make sure that they might not be able to get the money in. So let's just say I'll do a payroll on a Wednesday. They will not have the money in the bank till a Friday. It's not going to make it anymore. They're going to be cutting that 7-day period because they're going to be getting very close to that clearinghouse time. But if they don't accept the code, and then it rolls on to next payday, and I see that they do weekly payroll, and I've seen that superannuation is still not being approved, they're now, they're in SGC audit. They're in an audit period because they're weekly payroll. ATO is going to be knocking on the door going, well, you're late. Doesn't matter if you paid the next one on time, but you missed that last one, so here's some penalties to go along with it. Look,
that's a massive risk, isn't it? Massive risk.
Well, the penalty, the 200% penalty is pretty brutal. It's unusual, but don't forget the ATO look at history of a business owner, so they might plead with the ATO that I've always been struggling. I've always, I might have always been really good, but they can see history. They can see if that business is always lodged on time or not, and that's when they'll determine on what kind of a penalty they'll lay down on that business. So if the business has been really good, even throughout the quarterly periods and always lodged well and truly on time, or lodged monthly instead of quarterly, that goes in their favour to be like, sweet, we can do this. This is great. We can see they've been a good compliant person.
Yeah.
They've fallen into a bit of a rut. there is a soft period coming in, but we don't want people to get compliant with this. Or complacent with it. We want them to just dig their heels on. Just it's happening the 1st of July, and you don't get it. There's no choices anymore. You've got to play and pay.
Yeah, absolutely. So, sounds to me, therefore, based on what you've said, Beam Super, which is the clearinghouse that's embedded within Employment Hero at present, seems like the no-brainer, really.
It's been the easiest software to use when it comes to the superannuation compliance for my businesses, put it that way.
Yeah.
Very much. And look, I don't play in all software fields. I do play in the majority ones, but I know that there is some work to be done in the back end as far as it being cleared from, and knowing that it's hit the fund. So basically, when you see that it's cleared from the payroll system, you know that it's actually sitting in the employee's fund. But I love Beam Super. Is just a no-brainer. It's easy, it's embedded, it's quick, it's fast. You can send it as often as you like, even if you have to run an unscheduled payroll 3 or 4 times a week. It will still just let you send a superannuation without any penalties or any fines or anything. It's great.
Yeah, that's awesome as well. So, and you know what? I mean, to get all that, and you're only paying $3 per employee for payroll is amazing when you think about it. So, and there's definitely other payroll software solutions that are almost more than 10 times the price of,
100%.
to get less. So now, if I was a business, actually, no, let me take it back a step. 3-step process. I know you've talked about that when we've had our discussions.
Yep.
Can you expand upon what the 3-step process is?
Absolutely. So I don't want to sort of move away from our slideshow that we're going to show these fabulous people soon, but it's basically the way that the Beam Super works. As soon as you've processed a payroll in QuickBooks powered by Employment Hero, it's it's super ready. So what the payroll does, Beam Super prepares the superannuation, and all you need to do is click a button that says submit super. So it's 3 steps. So payroll's been processed, you're in the pay run, then you go send super, click 1, it shows you the superannuation, you go, yep, complete it, and then click 2, that's 2, and then click submit 3, that's done. So we'll show people in a minute how easy it is to set up the Beam Super for direct debit. I've got all my clients set up on direct debit. They love it. They get to choose what bank account it comes out of. I do send my clients the gross to net report out of Employment Hero every time I do a payroll anyway, so they can see like the full wang of what's happened inside that payroll for that period of time.
Yeah.
And I always highlight, obviously, the net payroll as well as what the superannuation is, so they know that that's going to come out of the bank account today or payday. And most of them have been great about it, Jamie. I think it's all about education, and because I love to train people and tell people what to do. I don't know whether they're scared of me, but I'll better do what she tells me to do or else. But no, it's all good. I've definitely got their hearts in the right place. So I reckon, but shall we start showing people what the amazing power that we can do in this life?
I reckon we need to start talking a bit and show everyone about this. So over to you, Denise.
All right. Well, just give me a second while I bring up my beautiful slideshow. Here's one I prepared earlier. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for listening to our little fireside chat. I hope you got quite a bit out of it with Jamie and I, just sort of laying down what the law is behind and the reasons why this whole thing's going ahead with Payday Super. We did mention several times that the payroll embedded in QuickBooks is Employment Hero and the superannuation is Beam, which is really neat as well. So a little bit of housekeeping. This is all being recorded, so if you happen to go off and grab a cup of tea or whatever, that's fine. You will get a copy of this recording for everyone who registered. If you're finding it's a bit glitchy, just restart your device and refresh your browser. If you can't hear us all right, that's just turn up your sound. We're pretty loud anyway. And just maximize the screen to see the demo a little bit better, just so you might be on a small screen. Okay, you've met the 2 of us, so you met us at the beginning of it all. That's just our beautiful pictures. But honestly, Jamie, I think we're better in real life, to be honest.
It's definitely more of a silver fox these days, and that compared to the photo there, Denise.
Exactly, I think so. Those glasses are doing a thing for you.
Ooh.
So we've gone through pretty much. We've already run through the welcome, what the overview, and the legislation around it, and what Beam Super. So as we've said, Beam is ready. QuickBooks is ready. Intuit's ready. But are you ready? And at the end of it, we'll throw a bit of Q&A around? I know we've had some questions come in, so if not, Jamie and I are really good at sort of what the conversations have been out in the social world anyway. So getting your firm using Beam Super Clearing, as I've said, it's a 3-click process. Some of the software can take up to 13 clicks, especially if you need it to recode and resend and stuff. So it can be quite very annoying. It's instant. Any warnings are instantly displayed. So I mentioned last year, Beam, we're working on the back end of it, making sure it's all strong. So you're not dealing with any codes. So there's no delays at all when submitting superannuation. As I mentioned, I can turn around to a client as long as they've got payroll access in Employment Hero in my QuickBooks file. They can flick the superannuation off as well. And I've actually got a few clients, and it warms my heart to see it, that they've actually gone and submitted the super. So they might do the payroll in the morning. I'll jump on in there in the afternoon to send the super. And it's already gone. And you know what? It warms my heart because they're listening, which is really wonderful. So I don't know whether I'm more scary than the ATO. It doesn't matter. We've got it all sorted as long as it's being done, right? And this is all being timed. So it does clear from the bank within 12 hours and it does land in the employee superannuation funds within 24 hours. Now, Beam stands behind that statement. So it's been tested and it's factual. This is actually how long it takes. So we can breathe with that 7-day period. We know that if you've got a bounce super, you've got time. As long as you deal with it, as soon as you get that notification, you're paying attention, you get it across the top of your screen in red. Any issues that are wrong with that payroll or that superannuation, it could be a simple thing as missing a mobile number. Look, you will still get notified. Deal with it instantly and then resubmit it and away it goes. And it's really nice and clean. So that 7-day period, we can definitely breathe with ease with our superannuation. Why Beam? I know you've asked me that a couple of times, Jamie. We all know that it's the best on the market. It's fast, it rolls within the payroll, it sticks within the payroll. I've mentioned a couple of times now, it can be processed by anybody that's got the payroll access, and there are absolutely no delays waiting for any third-party codes. I don't think we can reiterate that enough. It doesn't need to be coded. You can just, as soon as you've approved pay run, superannuation can be sent and paid, and it's submitted because you've already set up the direct debit, so it's just going to come straight out of your bank account anyway.
The key thing to also add to that, Denise, is, and reiterating again, is that this is Payday Super compliant now. There's no waiting period. There's nothing that needs to be helicoptered or re-engineered. So yeah, you're looking or using or considering something that's going to give you peace of mind and not have to worry about any issues with the ATO moving forward.
Exactly. So you can see here how easy it is to set up your client's business. A lot of the firms can do it for the clients. A lot of you guys should have payroll access anyway, so it's very easy to go into the back end of settings. So you just need to register the business with Beam. It's free to do so. You actually do that within payroll. So you actually do that within inside your Employment Hero QuickBooks account. So you're not having to go a third-party Google search engine anywhere else. You actually do it within product. It's all pre-filled, so it brings across the ABN number and all the client's information anyway, because you're in that client file. So all you need to do is just click on the payroll, go to employees, payroll settings and superannuation. Remember the old ways we have to do it. It was, you had to set the super payment, run the report, click the payment, send it off, wait for the client to pay it. Oh my goodness, we've really come a long way. I used to sit there, go to a client's, and I'd wipe out 3 days when superannuation was due and sit there, and I used to write checks to all the superannuation funds once upon a time. Oh my God, I could tell you some horror stories. So yeah. This is just music to my ears, this whole wonderful Payday Super. So default super funds as default bank account. So that's really important for Beam to take the money out of, is also to bounce money back into for any returned super. And the refund obviously comes back in, and then all you do is you just click save once you are done. So let's take a quick look at how it looks. Okay, so we're all very familiar with our payroll settings tab, just nice and so we've gone into payroll settings, and down the bottom here, we have our superannuation. So you can see here we've come into Larry's TV landscaping settings. And all you need to do is click here, register with Beam. It takes you through to the 3 steps of registering for Beam. So you put in, it'll already pre-fill the business details, the address. So you just pop in, make sure this is pre-filled correctly. It will pre-fill the most information from the business's settings anyway. Pretty straightforward. How do you want to pay it? Most people pay it, just pay it by direct debit. Don't muck around with any other ways. Just if you do it by EFT or BPay, you're still opening up work for you to do. So just pay it by direct debit. Be done with it. Once you press submit, you can forget about it because it'll come out of your bank account anyway.
Yep.
So do you want to intend to use direct debit? Yes, I absolutely do. So hit direct debit. Then what will happen next? It'll want your set up your default fund. Now we talked about this earlier. If you do have an employee whose super bounces back and they're like scratching their head going, oh, I don't know. I thought I was with Rest, but I really don't know. Bang, straight into this employer's super fund. You don't, because the ATO are going to penalise the employer, and that's not fair. If you've got a slack employee, this is just not okay for the employer to cop that. So whack it straight through to the employer's super fund. The employee can change it later. They can go to the ATO and move their super over later, or their super funds. How would you like it to come through? Defaulted? Absolutely. So you can see how Beam have made this really, really simple to do so. And then you just tick the box that says, yep, I agree to it all being absolutely true and correct. It pretty much just says direct debit's going to come out of your bank account. Make sure you got the money in there. Any money will be returned back to you. Bang. And that's how easy it is to be set up with your superannuation with Beam. So automated super batches and payday super. So basically just wrapping it up. Superannuation is calculated automatically by when you run your payroll in Employment Hero. So as soon as you approve payroll, it's all ready for you to send your payroll, your superannuation. Same as when you just hit submit ATO, lodge it. It's all a long little bouncing ball. It's beautiful and clean. Absolutely reduces any manual processing and reduces many errors. It supports the super stream compliance, which Beam's all over. We are ready. Super Payday, we know it's coming. But why wait? Why delay? Do it now. We know that automatically Payday's on Payday. So it automatically is ready for submission on Payday. So it automatically calculates it all for you. So you don't have to run any reports. Calculates it all for you. So all you do is just go, boom, submit, off my bank account. Thank you very much. It really helps businesses stay compliant. Look, I have seen so many of my businesses that are just paying their super. As I said before, I give them a little bit of a stir up every now and again at the quarter going, I bet you're not missing that money. But it's true, they don't. They really just, it's money they can spend elsewhere in the business. They know that they're compliant. They know the tax man's going to love them. They know that the staff are going to be happy because they can see all the time. You've got businesses, I think accounting firms and that forget, these people, they're always on their MyGov looking at how much money they've earned, looking at how much super is in their bank account. So the business owner might not be all over the super, but I can guarantee you the staff are. They know if they haven't been paid super. I get emails from people, used to, not so much anymore. So yeah, can't be complacent. It does improve cash flow. Absolutely it does. And also with that, it reduces any risk of late penalties. And my clients and I get to sleep at night as well. So let me show you how simple it is with the finalisation process. We've bagged on about how it's a really quick 3-step process. So for those that haven't had the pleasure of playing with a payroll inside QuickBooks Employment Hero, this is basically, so the payroll has been finalised. You can see up here, payroll finalisation settings. And it says in here, when do you want to create the super fund? This is like step 1. I want to create it manually at a later date. We suggest you create it immediately. So this is where just come back to doing it immediately. We make the pay slips available on publishing. And then the next step is submitting. So you just click submit, and that's as simple. And they could not make it easier. Actually, they could basically turn around and go, thank you, we've now taken the money from your account without you doing anything. But I think that might be me dreaming and asking for the inevitable. But honestly, short of them doing that, they've pretty much made it so easy for us to send our super from Beam. I mean, crazy, why wouldn't you, hey?
Yeah, exactly. But also imagine the time saved when you're doing larger pay, like with some firms that I know of that have got larger pay runs of like 200 employees. How quickly that would just go bang, 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 bang. You just fly through it. in an ideal scenario.
And
So yeah, that's awesome. Like, and it is simple, and it needs to be simple. Like, why make something more complicated than what it already is?
but
With
also, it makes me wonder how many of those bigger like bigger businesses, are relying heavily on overdrafts and stuff like that to, cover their super. So if they need to start juggling overdrafts, they need to be doing that now, not waiting till July. They need to be having that conversation to say to their bank, because if they're waiting to bring this in and waiting till the 1st of July, knowing that the June super isn't due until the 28th of July,
mm,
so they could have waited a whole quarter, and then they've also now got Payday Super knocking on their door from the 1st of July. I do not want to be the best agent for any of those businesses. I hands up now, I do not want to know about it. It would just be a director's nightmare. But
yeah,
but
yeah,
more reason why we're having this conversation today, right? Because
yeah, exactly.
this is the conversation the accountants and best agents and stuff need to start having with their clients.
Yep, absolutely, and also with their partner managers as well. So, one of the key takeaways you've touched on with advanced payroll is we're the only one of the very few. Let me be more generalist. One of the very few payroll accounting software solutions that actually have pre-built award rates already in the software. Now, with Payday Super, you've got to make sure that you're paying to the correct award rate. An advanced payroll with QuickBooks Powered by Employment Hero, for as little as $5, you've got access to 45 plus award rates already preloaded, which is linked to Fair Work Australia on the cloud.
Absolutely. And that we've talked about the automation, who's not for automation.
Mm,
And this isn't AI, this is automation. This is helping firms stay compliant, keeping their business owners compliant, keeping their clients compliant, keeping them in business, because we don't have the choice. It's coming. So we know, as I said, Beam couldn't have made this any simpler for us if they tried, apart from going, hey, guess what? We've also now taken it from your bank account. But it's the integration side of it, from how streamlined it is, and how it is from running the payroll to filing the payrolls to the ATO lodgement, and now off to the superannuation funds. It couldn't be more streamlined if they tried.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. The other thing to note as final comments, if you're contemplating or if you're currently using software that is not Employment Hero and is questionable in terms of the little hints that we've given away in this presentation, I would strongly encourage, in fact, I would seriously, strongly encourage all of you to have a conversation with your partner manager and talk about how we can get you to Employment Hero. Now, we can do migrations of employee data, we can talk you through that process of how to do it. There's perfect and plenty of cases and examples that we can do where we can do hundreds of employees, or we can do as little as 3 or 4. But for as little as $3 per employee, or $5 to activate the advanced and the award rates and everything else, right? You are getting the most cost-effective payroll solution and the leading payroll solution at the market, and it's at your disposal right now. All right. So reach out to your partner managers, have a conversation. We can do a bit of a payroll health check with our service delivery team, and also talk to you about how we can actually get you off something that's archaic and not compliant into having something that's compliant right now. And don't put yourself at the risk that Denise touched on before with that July window of payroll as well. That in it, I didn't even think about it when you brought it up, but that's sketchy, very sketchy.
It's scary.
Russian roulette, really.
It really is. It's a lot of money that they're going to be juggling, and they're probably better off trying to juggle that now with their budgets and their cash flow. Look, have a chat to the accountant. The accountants really need to start having these conversations now with their clients.
Yeah,
They know who their clients are that are doing payroll. They know who's going to be. Look, everybody is impacted with this. Nobody is excluded. So
yep,
have the conversations. This is the perfect opportunity for accountants to bring in that personalization with their clients, to go, you know what, let's have a chat. Let's talk about your cash flow. Let's lay down a budget. Let's make sure that your Payday Super ready now,
yep.
because we've got still 4 months of superannuation to be calculated before we hit the 1st of July. So You know, I know a lot of accountants wait until May, June to have cash flow conversations. They can't.
No.
I'm pleading with them as best agent. I am pleading with the accountants and tax agents out there to
Mhm.
have these conversations with the clients. I mean, I'm having conversations with my clients about, well, I'm pushing your payday. I'm pushing your super every payday. So
Yep.
I'm making them ready with their cash flow. So, but yeah, it's really important for firms to start having that conversation with their clients to make sure that they're ready, or they might lose clients from this, and nobody wants that.
Yeah. Yeah. And to that as well, in terms of timeframes and that type of thing, it can take up to, depending on the size of what we're potentially migrating, up to about 6 weeks for that whole process to get the data, make sure it's compliant, migrate it, activate files, make sure the payroll's done, onboard, upskill if they're not familiar with Employment Hero. And there was a really good case study that, without naming names, etc., this happened probably about 12 months ago in SA. There was a firm that I was dealing with that was using Reckon Desktop, and they were in all sorts of strife with the ATO because they were still doing paper-based superannuation submissions. And so they were missing employment data and they were chasing up, chasing up. So they had 150 clients plus employees, which we then underwent a migration for them. They've now been using payroll, payroll with QuickBooks and Power by Employment Hero now for well over a year and a half. And quote unquote, it was the best decision they ever made. And they're already Payday Super compliant now. They don't have to worry.
Yeah.
So it can be done. It can be done, but those
Oh,
conversations
definitely.
need to happen now.
Look, and it has to happen now. We can't wait. I mean, I think it really does. Yeah, it has to happen today, really, sooner
Mm.
than later, people, because it's going to be here before we know it, and that's really frightening.
Yeah.
Not for me and my clients. We're all good. We're ready for
Sure.
July.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah.
Jamie, this has been absolutely amazing. I really have enjoyed, even for for a topic that's really, it's quite heavy.
Mm.
It's quite serious, but I, as a best agent using, Employment Hero, QuickBooks, and being super, it's an absolute breeze, and my clients love it. I like it. I love it because it's just, I don't have any dramas. There's no delays. There's no errors. There's no blocks. There's no waiting for codes and stuff. So for me, as a best agent, it's perfect. And we're ready. Let's do it. Come on, let's go.
I love it. I love it. Denise, it's been a pleasure. Really thank you for your time today. And to those that are watching, don't hesitate. Get on the phone, shoot an email, get in contact with your pro advisor on the QuickBooks team. Let us help you ensure that you're compliant and you're not having the ATO on your back moving forward, and you're also utilising the best software payroll solution that there is in Australia at the moment.
100%. Dan, hands down. Thanks, everybody. See
See
you
you,
later.
everyone.
Take care.